Hi guys, I hope you're all doing really well. Welcome back to What the Horror, the channel where we talk about horror movies old and new. Last week I did another top 10 horror movie list, this time my top 10 camping horror movie recommendations. I've been doing a couple of top 10 lists that are perfect for the summer months, so don't forget to check those out if you haven't already. Today though, we're talking about a recent movie release called They/Them that was released exclusively on Peacock. A group of teenagers at an LGBTQ+ conversion camp endures unsettling psychological techniques while being stalked by a mysterious masked killer. They/Them was released on Peacock on the 5th of August and since then has gone on to receive increasingly negative reviews from both critics and audiences. It currently has an audience rating of 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. Even though I'd seen low ratings though, I wanted to go into it with an open mind and see what I thought of it myself. But oh man, is this movie a mess. So let's get into They/Them. Starting off with the positives in the movie. First off, it's great to have Kevin Bacon back in horror. To be honest, he was the main reason that I watched this film. I'm definitely a fan and love a lot of his movies, and I thought it was fun to see him return to sort of a summer camp setting. He does a good job with what he's given. He does a good job of balancing both sides of this character. There are times where he's trying to be this good guy, where he's trying to be kind of supportive to the campers and their pal, which is so odd considering that he's the owner of a conversion camp. But the whole time there is this underlying cruelty to him. There are those moments in the film where the facade drops and this darker side of him comes through, and honestly Kevin Bacon does a great job of being believably dangerous. I also thought the lead kid was really good too. The character of Jordan is a trans non-binary and they are played by Theo Germain, who is also trans and non-binary in real life. I thought some of the scenes between them and Kevin Bacon are some of the strongest in the movie. They also conveyed a lot of emotion in some of their darker, harder hitting scenes. There was also a little song and dance scene which, while being slightly over the top, was actually really quite sweet. It was also a nice way to lighten the mood after what was quite a dark scene involving the character Jordan. And my final positive is that this is a really nice looking movie. The setting is beautiful and it can't help but remind you of other camp horror movies that have come before, and the lighting is also really gorgeous. There are lots of really vivid lights and shadows contrasting. And that's it for the positives. I cannot overstate how little horror there is in this horror movie. There are no good scares and they never really manage to build any tension. And for a slasher movie, there isn't much slashing. They/Them isn't gory at all. There is very little to see kill-wise. A lot of them are actually done off-screen and we end up just seeing the aftermath. I'm not kidding when I say that there were moments watching this film that I genuinely forgot that it was a horror movie. Aside from the kill in the cold opening, it was 45 minutes before we got a kill, and then it was a while again after that before we got another. And the build up to them is really slow. I don't mind if a film has a slower pace if it can keep me engaged, but in the first part of this film it was kind of boring in places and the pacing was just generally way off. Rather than it having 3 acts, it felt more like it was just 2 acts. It's a really slow start and the whole first half feels like it's just getting going, and then the second half suddenly has just lots of random things happening. There are numerous scenes that are just nasty, and it's not the horror aspect. Well, it's not the horror side of it, but they are still horrific. There is a trigger warning for a couple of things in They/Them, and one of them is animal cruelty, so bear that in mind when watching it. And the animal death scene is horrendous. It's not that you see a very extreme violent death, it's more that the emotions of that scene are really extreme. There's nothing visually graphic, but it's really unpleasant and uncomfortable to watch. And bear in mind that this scene had followed a scene where one of the campers was almost assaulted by one of the leaders. A young female camper is targeted by a female leader who is described by Kevin Bacon's character as straight. And at the time of watching the scene, It's unclear as to whether she's doing this to test or tempt the camper, or if she's just teasing her, or if she's actually coming on to her. All of these are moves, but the fact that it's revealed later that she was actually coming on to her is, I think, even worse, because it's hypocritical and just, again, it muddles the message of the movie. And then after the animal scene, the movie eventually moves into an aversion therapy scene where one of the young campers is hooked up to electric. Like I said, some of these scenes are just nasty. There is genuine horror in the fact that conversion camps actually exist. And like I mentioned, some of the scenes in this film are really dark. But even with this readily horrifying material, they/them just fails. All of the kids that go to the conversion camp are all there for different reasons, but I feel like a lot of the characters end up just being stereotypes, or at least not explored as fully as they could be. So bearing in mind the horror and kills of this movie are, let's say, a little disappointing, you may wonder, well, does it at least have an interesting killer? Nope. The killer was disappointing, from the look of them to their reveal. In fact, the whole reveal scene just felt like a damp squib, to be honest. I mean, as an audience member, you can kind of get on board with their motive. But the way that they behave in the showdown and how they try to make other people behave takes away the weight of their argument. For me, though, the major downfall of They/Them, aside from being a horror movie with very little horror, is that I'm just confused by it. I feel as though the movie needed to pick a message and stick with it. It just seems to be trying to say so many things, but doesn't actually end up saying anything. So many of the things They/Them tries to tackle and touch upon are really interesting and should be talked about, but because it tries to stretch itself so thin, it ends up failing on a lot of them. It's just messy. It's a really messy movie and it wasn't for me. So there you have it, guys, my review of They/Them. Sorry it's not a very long one, but I just don't have much more to say about it. But let me know if you guys decided to check it out and what you thought of it down in the comments. Because this one is so short, I'm trying to get another episode out for you this week, which will be a guide to the horror movies that are still to come out this year. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, so that you don't miss out on that one, because there are some really exciting ones coming up. In the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye, guys.